Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Rita Ernst. Rita is an organizational psychologist, speaker, and author of Show Up Positive, published in June of this year. Her book reveals how to intentionally cultivate positive thoughts and behaviors instead of automatically reacting from the trappings of a depleted cycle of frustration and discontent. Ooh, I love that. In her consulting practice, Rita specializes in breaking through hostility to restore pride, teamwork, and profits. We all like those profits. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, Rita. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for inviting me, Sabrina. Your energy and your podcast are the bomb. So it is quite a delight. And I'm very honored that you invited me to meet your audience and share my story. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here. You know, it's the mission. It's the mission. And the only way that it's possible is if females like you understand it and get it and continue to kind of, speak and share in order to allow a place for other females or males who are dealing with some junk so that they can come here and feel inspired, get some motivation, and see that in and amongst their darkness, there is some light at the end there. So thank you. First of all, where are you from?
I grew up in West Virginia. Parkersburg, West Virginia is my town of origination, but we've been in Louisville, Kentucky for 20 years now. We've raised our kids here. And so I consider Louisville my hometown because it's actually the place that I have lived the longest in my entire life.
I love that. Very, very cool. Well, I saw your book. Can you show it to us again? I love the cover.
Yes,
It's so beautiful.
Thank you so much. I love the cover too. I love everything about this book. This book was built on love, and I just exudes love back to me every time I see it.
Is it, I know we're going to get into that like later on in the podcast, but is the book like read, or is it like a workbook and reading? Is there exercises in it?
I'm glad you asked that question. So the book has two parts, and it's about an equal split. Like it's almost 50-50 on the pagination. The first part of the book is the manifesto. It's the call to action of why you should care about showing up positive, what it means to show up positive, the results that are created for you and by you when you choose to show up positive. And part 2 of the book is 50 inspirational words. And I call them the Show Up Positive Sparks. And for the most part, it's just a 2-page layout. So I wanted it to be really quick and easy. So earlier today, every Monday, I broadcast live a spark of the week. And today's spark is bold. And so I actually opened up the book and read from the 2-page spread, the inspirational ideas about what it means to show up bold and the kind of courage that you need to show. And then the end of each of those sections has 4 questions that you can really spend in personal reflection, but you can also have tremendously good conversation with other people, whether it's the people that are sitting around the table with you at dinner or the people that are part of your team that really get you thinking about whatever that idea is. But when I was thinking about this book, Sabrina, I was originally thinking about just creating this compendium of ideas or for ways to infuse positivity into your culture. So I have about 300 words. And so I put 50 of them in this book, and there are more books to come. And then I send out a weekly email and I do the live sessions. And so people who've been with me a while have gotten a way more content, way more spark ideas than just those ones. But yes, I mean, it is, I call it a playbook because it's each person's show up positive journey is their own. It's not a paint by number kit, right? It's the inspiration, and then you take it and make it your own, and you develop your own creative masterpiece from that.
I love that. I love the analogy.
Oh, well, good.
That's a good
I do
one.
a lot of storytelling, and I love analogies. That's one of my favorite go-tos for helping ground people in my vision as clearly as possible.
Yes, I can clearly see what you mean by that. And I love that. So excited to kind of jump into all of the goodness that you're doing now in your world. But before we do that, I kind of want to backtrack a little bit, as far back as you want. And you're here, you've been on a journey of ups and downs and arounds and turns and roller coasters and all sorts of things. I want to ask, what story changed your entire life? And what did you learn from that story?
I have to say that the thing that changed my entire life was joining a company who presented one outward appearance when I was interviewing and all of those things. And then once I accepted the job and I moved in, turned out to be something completely different. It's sort of like that relationship thing that happens when you're dating, that like when you're dating somebody, but when you get really serious and you start spending time, then you begin to see the real person. It was sort of that same kind of thing. So I was very excited to find this company, to join them. And I had this idea in my mind of who I could be and what I could do. And then I got there, and like a really simple example, Sabrina, is they had a diversity and inclusion program and policy and position. And then they made all of us go through Dress for Success training. And for me, my takeaway from that was, if you're so concerned about, am I wearing my hair the right way? Am I wearing the right jewelry? Am I wearing the right outfit and shoes? That's all outside appearance. If you can't get past that and you're enforcing that, how are you getting past all the other things that get in the way from diversity, from, visible diversity? It was, it just really clashed for me. It just, like, the values piece just didn't really align. And I found myself feeling combative
Okay.
about that, right? Like, I would get invited to go out to lunch with an executive, and I was prompted and told how I should dress. And then I would dress the exact opposite. Like, instead of wearing a suit, I would wear a skirt and a top and a sweater. Like, I would just always do, like, that's what I mean. Like, so it was probably the most dramatic, because it was the first time that I really felt my personal values and the workplace thing just really collide.
Totally.
And what I've come to understand is the privilege of that even today, my female friends that are Black experience that on the daily, right? I mean, it was a lot of white privilege that I had worked in my profession for all those years and never really felt that in that way. And it was also privilege that I could walk away and just say, like, yeah, I can't do this. So that's a lot of my stories revolve around work. I come from hardworking parents, not from wealth. We certainly always had food on the table. We always had a roof over our heads. We always got to take a vacation as a family. So we had but we didn't have a, abundance. There were a lot of things that I wanted that I was told no, you couldn't have. But I did get a college education, all of those things. But my parents were very hardworking for their money. And so they just instilled that in me, that desire to be like them, to be that responsible contributor that's making a difference in the world and what they're doing. And so, yeah, so work has just always been this positive draw for me, this place of building my esteem and my ability to contribute and to do things. So a lot of my stories center around work because I allow that to be the space of joy and happiness and fulfillment. But yeah, this one job, it was just like, okay, there's, it was sad in Whoville that day.
Yeah. How do you think that it's pivoted your mindset, changed you?
Well, it's a couple of things. One is that when I left that job, I decided to put my energy into my family for a little while. And that was the impetus for me to start my own business and hang my own shingle and go independent. And so that's a pretty significant change to make that shift from working for somebody else and having all of that security of a job and a paycheck and benefits and retirement and all those things to running your own business. So it made me appreciate and want to do the hard work, because it's not an easy thing to be a business owner. And I think that the other thing it did was it helped me to find boundaries and know that I could live inside of those boundaries and be okay. And there was probably a time earlier in my career, if this would have happened early in my career, I probably would have gutted through it in a different way. But I had reached this place of experience and contribution in other roles where I knew this didn't feel right and this wasn't going to be enough. And so just that willingness to say, instead of choosing safety and security, to choose what felt right to me and my values, that was a very significant maturation of myself as a person.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. When you stated that a lot of your stories revolve around work. Totally makes sense. Mine's very similar. I do have personal stories, but also working class, background, and lots of ups and downs within, whether I'm working on my own or working with somebody else. And there's always life lessons, there's always things that you're picking up along the way and adding to your bucket of lessons learned. When you look at it as a whole, all of it as a whole, what would you say is the number one lesson that you've learned about life?
That's a very deep question, Sabrina. I have to give the moment. I'll give the answer for the moment, but
Yes.
I may reflect on this over time and really change what that is. I think the number one lesson as a whole for me is, and I will use Glennon Doyle's words, you only get this one precious life to live. And so spending that doing things that don't bring you joy and happiness and fulfillment, and more importantly, spending that time doing things that actually deplete you, that I mean, literally you walk away and you just feel lesser because of what you just experienced. Life is too precious for that. It really is just too precious for that. And so that would be the one lesson I would want my daughters to learn from my experience, that even if it's not easy, even if I mean, I left money on the table. I walked away, I left stock options, and I certainly didn't replace that 6-figure income trying to start my own business. I was fortunate to have a security blanket financially that allowed me to do that. But we always say to our kids, find something that you love. I love my work, and I am happy that I found a way to continue that work, even though without having to be in that corporate slog, finding a different way to connect with people and create value together. I love collaborating with others. So working inside of a company in many ways makes a lot of sense for me. But it's this boundary of, I actually think if this were happening more currently, there would be more options than I felt like I had at that time. There was not flexibility at all in the workplace, for example. You couldn't say, oh, can I, work different hours or do different things? I mean, everybody, it wasn't even a 40-hour work week. It was, you work until the work gets done and you have 60, 70 hours worth of work to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that we are evolving. I hope that we are evolving. It appears that we may be evolving in how we think about work and what possibilities that we present. And I hope that for my daughters that they will have other options, but it really didn't feel like I had to be all in or all out. Like there was no place for anything in between.
Definitely makes sense. I appreciate you bringing up the 6 figures, going from one into entrepreneurship. I think one of the biggest frustrations that I have right now as an entrepreneur is all of these ads that I'm constantly getting with males and females telling me that with this one thing, I will be able to reach 6 or 7 figures. And it's very frustrating that I guess in that small print, there's no like, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work. You have to like do stuff every day.
And it may not even be that you have to work, Sabrina. I mean, and unfortunately, I think that I have the side eye look at those things the same way that you do. And I think that most people that are selling those ideas do not really understand who their target market is.
Good point.
I don't think they really know how to qualify you to understand whether they can replicate that issue in your business or not. It's if you, and please, all my marketing friends and clients, don't get mad at me, but if you do SEO, and somebody says, I can help you turn that into a 6 or a 7-figure, you have a product to sell. It is a service, but it's also something people are, oh, you can help me get better Google ranking. I'm interested in that, right? There's kind of a product to that. When you're selling consulting services, it's not that easy of a product. I was just saying to somebody the other day, it's crazy. I can get somebody to say, oh yeah, please come give a keynote and pay me the $5,000 for the keynote. But if I ask them to invest $5,000 in consulting work in their company, they're like, ooh, I don't know. You know what I mean? It just defies logic to me, because, one is going to the consulting work is going to have more longevity and long-term impact in many ways. But there is this standard, like the keynote is a product, it's a thing. And people are like, oh, that's the going rate. A keynote speech is $5,000. So of course we'll pay you $5,000. But when it comes to something like consulting services, they want a nickel and dime sometimes. And, and so
that is so interesting. I've never even thought of it that way.
And the other thing that those advertisers don't say is there's a difference between 6 figures in revenue and 6 figures in profit.
Yeah, 100. That's a good point.
You can sign up for that and your business will pass. You can have 5-figure months adding up to 6-figure, but the expense line of what you're spending to get that, your margin on that may only be 15, 20%.
Yeah.
Now the question is, long term, do you build momentum that or reputation or things that you can leverage that are gonna get you there? But I'm always leery. I've got the magic bean. Here, Sabrina, buy my magic beans. I'm just not sure about the magic beans.
Yeah. There's work and there's effort and there's time that has to go into percolating, all of those things in order to create substantial long-term wealth.
Yes. Well, and the number one thing is in those systems, if I could say with 100% certain definitively, this is my target market, I can define exactly who they are and they are out there searching for what I am offering, then I think those systems can work. But for me, it's always like, okay, well, here's the theoretical pool of people, but I don't know which business owners have this particular dilemma that I solve. And there's no data that I can look at that says, yes, you need to make sure that you're pitching these 10,000 people. And when you pitch these 10,000 people, you're going to get 1,000 yeses back.
Got it.
But there are, again, need a better website. People might Google search and you can find that. It's really hard for the consulting work that I do to find what are the Google words that people are searching for. And then the ones that you can find are so expensive, they're so saturated, so I think it really depends the space that you're in. But I think I think the clearer and cleaner you can target in on exactly who, here I'm doing my business consulting now, that just makes a world of difference in how quickly you can move and grow your business.
Getting to where you are now, as far as, first of all, do you have entrepreneurship in your family, or did you just go off and do this? Or is there people in your family that you could kind of see that it worked and know that it's in your blood?
There's really nobody in my family other than my sister, who's so we're sort of the same generation, right? So she is a personal trainer and nutritionist and stuff. So she's sort of had her own business going for many, many years. And all the struggles that you and I are talking about as well in her business. Owned a gym for a while, had to close it down, all of those kinds of things. So no, I'm the first in my family to do college. So I am sort of out there first doing things on my own.
Yeah.
But with all the love and support and belief of my parents are the kind of parents that aren't like, well, you're just not quite smart enough. They're just like, oh my God, you can do anything. I
love that.
Yes.
I love that. Same. But it's still scary.
Yes.
It's still scary. So I want to ask, since we're on the subject of work, I feel like you don't have a problem staying in this lineage. What would you say was a limiting belief that you had regarding entrepreneurship, work, money, wealth that you had to get rid of in order to continue moving forward in a successful way?
I think the biggest limiting beliefs that I have are around money. Absolutely. And the one I would name most certainly is the belief that I can risk my savings, my personal money for this dream, for this ambition of owning a business. Because I coach and a lot of startup businesses. That's really the sweet spot where I like to be, fast growing businesses. And what most people don't understand when they start a business is it is going to take most likely 4 to 5 years for you to be able to pay yourself a decent salary. All up to that point, you're just going to be churning investment in. Your time is an investment in. You're not able to pay yourself back for that. Even for me. So I took, I published my book through an independent publishing company. So it's just one step above being self-published. So I took all my fourth quarter profits last year and put them into the book. Right. And now I'm taking all of now that I've paid back for the book, now I'm taking the profits from residual sales and work from the book, and I'm investing that into spreading the message further and advancing the movement. Right. So I really had to work with getting past this, idea of like, at some point I got to pay myself a really good salary. At some point I got to make the money I used to make, that I can borrow from the Ernst Bank and invest into myself and my business. We're lucky I didn't have to go take out a small business loan or whatever. But often I have to tell people in business, like, if you don't have a deep savings that you can reach into, if you've got to pay bills, if you're counting on this business to generate money to pay bills, then you probably need at least a line of credit for bridge loan for lean times for you to be able to do things. Like it's just not going to be that easy. And so that whole, I'm not a gambler. I don't see, I don't see anything positive about gambling at all. And it's not like it because it destroys people's lives. It's just like the odds are always stacked in the favor of the house.
Yeah.
So why would what is the fun of trying to beat the house when the favor is to them? Like, I just don't, that doesn't turn me on, doesn't excite me, doesn't interest me. I look at that and I say, well, that's a waste of time. I could be reading a book or listening to a podcast or, I know people that love playing the games and doing, that's not me at all. And I often say, even I live in Louisville, the home of the Kentucky Derby, and people are like, oh, did you bet the race? And I'm like, I might as well take that money and light fire to those bills. I don't know anything about how to pick a horse or a jockey or anything else. It's like, what do I pick by? Oh, I like those colors.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not an informed. So the scientist in me just can't turn herself off, right? Yeah. Like there are things where it's just like, okay, logic does not compute. Gambling is one of those things. And so, there is that kind of gambling element of being an entrepreneur and hanging your own shingle and stuff. And there are times I have really thought long and hard about going back into corporate life because it would just be easier.
Yeah.
I am not a good salesperson. I don't enjoy the sales cycle. I don't cold call. I don't even have a lead magnet. I, I don't do the sales funnel. I'm like, if I don't want to convince people to work with me, people either get me and they're like, I want some of what you have to offer because I just really get you, or they don't. It's I could probably have a much bigger business and a little more if I put more time and but I really don't like that element of the business. So that's like one of those mindset things I haven't gotten past yet, Sabrina, that are probably still holding me back, is that I'm not a salesperson. I don't really like that side of it. I know my value. I know my ability. I just want my clients to say, "Oh my God, Rita's amazing," which they do, and people to go, "Oh, I need somebody amazing to come help me." It just should be that simple. In my world, like that chemistry just ought to be so automatic and simple. And it's frustrating that it is not, but it's a part of my journey. I've gotten over the money stuff. I'm making more intentional investment into the long term of my business. However, this other piece I got to work on, I think, is probably more of that growth and targeting. But I'm proud of what I've built. I'm proud of where I am, and I don't feel like I am lesser than other people who are making more money than I am. They're just making different choices than I'm
That's a good
making.
way to put it. That's a good way to put it, definitely. Do you want to read what Deborah is saying here? She's talking right to you.
Yeah. So Deborah is a good friend of mine from Conversations Over Coffee, which is a wonderful women's networking group. So I'm so glad that you joined us, Deborah. And yeah, I think that I don't know why it is for women, but I think a lot of women are share this space of not really feeling connected with the selling process in some way. I know that anytime I need something done on my car, I try to push that off to my husband. Because I literally one day I walked into like the advanced auto parts store and my husband had ordered something that we needed. And he said, all you have to do is go into the desk and pick it up. It's already paid for and everything. I walk in and they're already like helping somebody at the counter and I'm waiting my turn. And then they finish that person at the counter and the guy just turns and walks away as if I'm not even in the store. So I either have people try to convince me to buy a bunch of stuff I don't need, or they completely ignore me. Like it's just, and so maybe it's those kinds of sales experiences. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I know Deborah and I are not alone. I have met many women. How do you feel about the sales process?
Me?
Yeah.
So this is interesting that you're saying a lot of this. I actually have a hard time with this, not because I don't like sales, but because of stories like yours, where I feel like I am doing it wrong. So my background is actually 15 years door to door straight commission.
Wow.
Yeah.
Girl, I should be totally hitting you up on the side for all your nuggets and wisdom. Like if you can do that and survive that.
Yeah. So I started when I was like 6 months pregnant, dead winter, Chicago, outside, and worked for 15 years straight. Eventually, moved up and I started running teams and hiring teams and training teams and then training them out in the field. But I did that for 15 years, doing it, hiring, training in-house and outside, telling people how to do it. So I have a very masculine way of selling, but because of my background. So it's so interesting to me when I consistently run into females like you who have this like more feminine, everything will come to me type way of doing it, because I am more aggressive. I mean, I was selling,
Oh, don't apologize for
I
that. I
was
mean,
selling when I was
there's a
21
part
years
of me
old.
that wants to be like that. You know what I mean? There's a part of me that looks at that and says, I don't know how to tap into that for me. I don't even know if that exists in
Yeah.
me, but gosh, maybe it would be better or easier if it did. So please don't apologize for it.
So when I was 20, just to give you an idea, when I was 21 years old, just starting out in this sales, they started me out working gas stations at 5 a.m, rush hour. And I was selling newspaper subscriptions. So, like, not the newspaper, but subscriptions to the newspaper. So, like 8-week or 15-week subscriptions for $20. And so I would go up to people, pregnant, mind you. This was when I very first started, at their pump, pumping gas.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, you go up, I would make my pitch, which was like a 2-minute pitch. It was very quick. And the excuse is always, what are the two main excuses? I don't have time or I don't have money, right? It's always the two excuses. So the main one would always be, I don't have the money. I don't have $20. They're pumping gas. So, like, hello. So I would actually stand right there. And this is how I was a single mom. This is how I was paying for like my child and
Yes.
my living. So it was like desperation. So I would right there at the pump say, let me see your wallet. That's how aggressive I had to be. Yeah. Let me see your wallet. And then if they didn't, I would go on and I'd be like, how about this? I'll wash your front windshield and your back windshield for free, which is tip $20. You get the newspapers for free because it just did some work for you. Plus, you're helping out. We worked with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, so you're helping out the kids. And literally, just like clockwork. I mean, I was pulling in. I was always like number 1, number 2 in sales for years. And 15 years, I eventually moved up because they were like, you're freaking phenomenal. Can you train other people on how to do this? But I was working from a place of like desperation. Like I had to do this to pay the bills. So, so that's where I'm coming from. So it's always so interesting to me when I hear this, because I'm like, I must just be this like oddball female that's just like running around as scaring people because I'm doing it totally differently than a lot of the females are. So I also am second guessing myself on not doing it feminine enough, not doing it womanly enough, not like being tippy-toeing. And so it's interesting when I hear.
Well, I think that I don't think it's difficult necessarily if you've got some reason that you think you're talking to somebody that might have an interest in whatever you are selling, to pitch it to them. I know there are a lot of people that get upset about cold pitches, and I decided not to jump on that bandwagon because that's just how that's livelihood. Just like in your story, that's people's livelihood. They're
Yeah.
making, because you can't assume. You never really know where people are, but we all have different levels of comfort, right? With how much. What I would say, it's not just about the rejection. I mean, for some people it is, but to me it's more of the irritation element. And
Yeah.
it's definitely when I'm saying I'm a positivity influencer, if I'm out there in people's DMs or emails cold pitching them, irritating them, that's not a very positive experience, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think I need to feel badly if I have some legitimate reason to really think, hey, you might be interested or have need of my services, to make a pitch to you. I just unsubscribed from somebody's list this weekend, and I chose the other button at the bottom, and I wrote a daily sales pitch for an entire week for the same product is too much.
Ooh,
3 times works for me.
I love it.
but every day is like, it's just too much.
Yeah.
Like the first time I looked at it, I thought, huh, I wonder if maybe I should try to squeeze that in. Like that sounds kind of interesting. So having that second follow up to say, hey, you haven't signed up yet, don't miss out on this. And then the last call, this is still out here, but then after that, it's just like, okay, now you seem really desperate to me.
Good point. Yeah.
But that's my internal barometer. Other people could take way more and other people would take way less. But I think that we should give others the freedom to be able to invite us into experience their product or service 2 or 3 times without getting in a snit about it. I just don't understand people getting, but I do also have, and I chose to make the comment because I wanted to share that point of view. I'm not telling that person how to run their business. I just want them to have the feedback.
Yeah.
Not, it may be working beautifully for them, right? They may be outselling me by a ton because they just do that. And whereas I'm like, that's annoying. I wouldn't do that to somebody else. That annoys me. And that is my barometer. I look at what annoys me. I totally believe. Do you remember the book, Everything You Need to Know You Learned in Kindergarten?
Yes.
Right. So like that whole do unto others thing that you're taught in grade school, like treat others the way you want to be treated. And that is one of those mottos that I try to live by. I really try to. So that comes into my sales and my approach and how I think about things with other people. So I'm not opposed to the cold calling sale or whatever, but I would much rather put my creative energy into writing articles and developing my live broadcast series and writing another book and other things where I can really contribute value to other people. And because they're experiencing that value, then the right people are going to come buy from me. It's a longer play on the chessboard, but I'm a little more comfortable, and that kind of creativity keeps my juices going and keeps me interested and feeling very vibrant about my work in a way that trying to figure out what the right lead magnet is and then 3 series of emails to follow it up. I just am like, oh, can you just see it in my face? Like as soon as I start talking about it, it's just like, oh. But
I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
Having a magazine say, hey, write us 1,000 words on how to show up positive in 2023. I'm like, oh, yes. I would love to do that for you.
I love it.
And I know I'm not going to get paid a red cent, but somebody's going to read that article and they're going to find my movement and they're going to find me. And that's exciting. That's way more exciting than what's the right second email in my.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of what you're saying is true because there are so many like what you're looking for or who you are is who you will attract. So if you like writing more long content, you'll attract people who appreciate reading that long content. And those will be the people that connect with you versus other people who are more visual versus other people who like the video. And then there's also short video and long video, so there's and so I think staying true to you and how you do things will help you attract the people who think very much like you, which those are the people that we want to work with.
So I'm going to make a request of your listeners. If anybody knows the secret, please connect up with me and share it. I would love to know because, what I find so challenging in my work is the people that I can really bring the most value to are these fast growing entrepreneurs. They're usually at that stage where they're somewhere between 12 employees and 200 employees. They've been growing really fast. And what happens is I call that the sprint. You're in the sprint and you're just going as hard as you can. And everybody sees the goal and everybody's like, put it all on the line. We can land this account. We can take the business to this place. And everybody's like, rah, rah, rah. And they're going for it. And then you achieve it. And now you've got to run this business you just built.
Yeah.
And that is a marathon.
Yeah.
And it's totally different training, totally different skill sets, totally different way of operating. And so you have a whole group of sprinters that are now need to learn how to be marathoners. And you have to give time and attention to that, or you just get on that gerbil wheel and you burn everybody out. And so with my background in organizational psychology, I understand how you develop roles and structures within a business and processes within a business in a systematic way so that they come together and support the fulfillment of the strategy and the culture of the organization that you're trying to build. But the dilemma is those business owners are so busy. They were so working so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know where to find them or how to get their attention. I mean, I'm really reliant on somebody knowing somebody who says, hey, you need to meet this person. She can help you at this stage with this problem that you're having, because they're in private conversations, but where else they show up or how to get their attention, I don't know. But if somebody knows the secret of where those people hang out or spend time where I could actually get their attention to pitch them, should I ever like have the chutzpah to do it, I would love to know. So if you know that secret, you need to hit me up and share it, because I haven't figured it out yet.
One small payment of $397 will get you this 14-page document on how to do that. I love that. I want to take a quick moment to do a shout out to those watching live. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with Rita and I. For those of you watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that we know where you were watching us at and we can send you some love. But I want to ask Rita, can you tell us more about your business, about what you do, your book, how people can find you?
I would love to do that. I would love to meet your listeners. So this book, I am the author of this book, Show Up Positive. And I wrote this book and I meekly said to my friends, you know, what I really want to do, what I'm really hoping for is that I'm going to start this movement and help people take back their workplaces and create spaces like I want to be in, spaces that are joyful and fulfilling and productive and profitable and all of those good feels that we get from our work. But I was kind of timid about like, who am I? Who's going to follow me? Who's going to do that? And so I wrote the book, and I still sort of timidly talked about, but I've decided that I'm just standing in this moment of possibility, that this is a movement that others can join. So my invitation to all of your listeners is to join the Show Up Positive movement, which is simply this. It is the choice to use your agency, your ability to show up and be the person that you want to be, despite what anybody else around you is doing, and creating the experiences in your workplace that you wish surrounded you every day. So if you wish people were more helpful, if you wish people were more welcoming, if you wish they were more transparent, if you wish they were more empathetic, whatever that wish might be, show people what that looks like. When you show up and you start being that person, you make available to others the opportunity to see and experience what that is. And there will be people who say, you know, I want to hang out with Sabrina because I really like the energy she brings. I'm happier when I'm with her. I'm enjoying my time with her more. And so that's why we call them the sparks, because that's what you're doing. You know, instead of being this one little sparkler, you have this opportunity to create this whole amazing fireworks show in your organization. Because if one person can come in and tank your culture and demoralize your workplace, you are just as powerful to be the one person that comes in and turns it all back on. And the quote on the back of the book says, misery misery loves company until people grow tired of being miserable.
I love that.
And I just think that's where we are in so many areas of our lives. People are tired of feeling discontented and dissatisfied and depleted. And work has always been this place to build community and belonging and fulfillment. We need three basic things to be our best selves. We need to have autonomy, which is the ability to run our own lives. We need to have competency, which is the ability to do what we do really well, that to show our mastery. And then we need belonging and relatedness. We need that community around us. And so we can create that for ourselves. We actually can do those things. And so that is the invitation that I want to give to your folks. And so I talked about some of the consulting work that I did earlier, but the other piece of the consulting work that I do is going in and what I call repairing culture work with organizations and really helping teams get reconnected and repair those fissures in relationships that happen when you sort of get in that downward spiral, and then really get recommitted again to being that high performance team that you once were, because you can be that again. It can feel like a very long way to climb from where you are at this moment, but it's like any other journey. You just have to take the first step. And, it's one step at a time. You practice one positive behavior at a time and do the things that are going to make you feel good about who you are and how you're showing up and what you're bringing into the workplace. You do it for you first, and then you just invite the others to come in and join with you.
I love it. Where can people find you?
IgniteExtraordinary.com, which is with my name right above my head. That's the easiest place. Everything is out there. All my social connections are there. I'm most active on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I am a B2B person, so that's really the primary platform. I am Rita Ernst Positivity Influencer on LinkedIn, so it's really easy to figure out who I am. And so just let me know that you found me through the show, and I'll connect up with you. You can follow me as well. And I do a StreamYard Live every Monday that you can catch there or on Facebook or YouTube. On Facebook and YouTube, I'm at Ignite Extraordinary. So it's the same handle as my website, Ignite Extraordinary, with the @ to get me on either of those locations. And you can watch back versions of, before I started writing the book, I actually started emailing my tribe, my email list, sparks. I started writing them and sending them out and testing them to see how people responded to that. And that gave me courage to keep going and to push for the book.
I love it. Fantastic. Why do you do what you do?
I have this one prevailing value that I identified very early in my career, but it has been my North Star. And that value is legacy. And for me, legacy isn't about wealth building. A lot of people talk about legacy and they think about wealth building. For me, legacy is about making a difference for others around you. And so I just always want to leave others better than I found them, and to, contribute something of value and to pour into other people. And that's the legacy that I am trying to generate. So that's why I do it, because I told you earlier, I'm driven to work anyway. I love my field that I'm in, but this opportunity to really help people move to a better place however you define your better. Different people have different betters, but that's such a place of joy for me.
Yes. I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a lovely conversation, but I knew it would be, Sabrina.
Thank you. I want to pull up what Deborah said here. It says, I have really enjoyed both of you ladies today. I admire Sabrina's ability to be aggressive and to not take no for an answer. The ability to find a creative way to win someone over. P.S. Your hair is gorgeous. I also admire Rita because we think a lot alike. I am more of a behind the scene person. I like working alone. I love people, but I don't necessarily have to be around people all the time to be happy. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Deborah.
For inviting her to listen by sharing it on your platform. I appreciate that. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. For those of you that resonated with Rita and all the goodness that she shared, make sure to check out her website, igniteextraordinary.com, and on all the social media. I love connecting people. So
yeah, come join the movement. Let's bring positivity back to the workplace. Not that false positivity, not that, smile and wave, but the real, authentic, genuine, doing the things that really bring you happiness.
Yes, I totally agree. All right. Well, any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I just appreciate you so much, Sabrina. And you are this energy magnet. Like, I'm glad that we have met one another. I now know I've got so many other things I need to hit you up and learn from you, but thank you again. And it's a lovely podcast. If you've not subscribed, you need to subscribe and listen. It's a delight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us today on Her Version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you have an amazing story to share, make sure that you reach out to me at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. As always,